And there we go. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Santoro. I'm the Director of Policy Research and Housing Support at the State of Connecticut Department of Housing. I want to thank you for coming to our roundtable discussion for state agencies and other partners for input into the department's 2021-2022 Annual Action Plan for Housing and Community Development. For those of you who are new to this and are not aware, the department is the recipient of 5 formula grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Those programs are the Community Development Block Grant Small Cities Program, the National Housing Trust Fund, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, the Emergency Solutions Grant, as well as the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS. These 5 programs all fall under the 5-year Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development, which is then further supported with annual action plans. It would be the second of those annual action plans under the current 5-year plan. I see that my commissioner has hopped on. So before I go around and do introductions, I'll refer to our commissioner in case she wants to have anything to say. Commissioner.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for coming and visiting and listening to the session. This is an important part of our process, and I know that I'm also new to this process. So any comments is welcome as we formulate this 5 years plan. As you all know, affordable housing is very important to all of us, and looking forward to your comments and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you can, I just want to take a quick minute to just go around to all of the various state agencies to let us know that you are in fact represented. Understand this is just the first roundtable session. There will be another state agency roundtable where you will be able to comment and provide input on the post-draft. This is to seek input before we prepare a draft action plan. We will then prepare it, put it out for public comment, and again, seek input from you on any specific changes, revisions, or suggestions on that plan going forward. It's also an opportunity for us to continue to build interactive relationships between your agencies and ours. Many of you already participate in a number of advisory and joint committees between our state agencies. We collaborate on program-specific activities. We look to maintain and encourage increased collaborative activity between our agencies. I will see if I can do this. I'm going to go alphabetically. If you can, unmute yourself real quick. Just tell us who you are and what agency you're with. I'm going to go down the list of attendees alphabetically, so please don't be alarmed that I'm not going to get here right away. So, Michael Aiello.
I'm Michael Aiello. I work with the State of Connecticut Judicial Branch, Court Support Services, and I work a lot with Mike and other folks on housing, supportive housing with CHAFA Oversight Committee, trying to unstably housed and trying to keep people housed so we can provide adult probation services and pretrial services in the community and effective supervision.
Thank you, Michael. Catherine Blinder.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Catherine Blinder. I'm the Education and Outreach Officer for the Department of Consumer Protection, and I think this is our 3rd or 4th time being on this group, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens today. Thanks.
Thank you for coming on, Catherine. Appreciate it. Brian Garcia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Brian Garcia here from the Connecticut Green Bank.
Thank you, Brian. Good to see you.
Hi,
Jeff
Fred.
Caiola.
How are you, Mike?
I'm well, Jeff.
Jeff Caiola from Connecticut Deep, Assistant Director of Land and Water Resource Division, oversee many of our land use regulatory programs and DOH, mostly flood management.
Thanks, Jeff. Commissioner Lehman. All right, we'll come back to Commissioner Lehman. For those who don't know, Commissioner Lehman is the Commissioner of the Department of Economic and Community Development and chairs ESF, the Emergency Support Function 14 for the state's emergency response. Commissioner Delphin Rittman.
Hi, everyone. Commissioner Delphin Rittman here from Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. Happy to be part of the meeting. Many collaborations with housing, so happy to support and be part of the discussion.
Thank you.
Good
We
to
appreciate
see everyone.
that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Steve.
Steve Hall, Department of Housing, Director of Individual and Family Support Program Unit. We manage the human services side of DOH, specifically the homeless response system, as well as our rental assistance programs. And it's great to see so many familiar faces today.
Ms. Garcia.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eulalia Garcia. You can call me Lali. It's a lot easier. I am currently the District Administrator and Director of Programs with the Connecticut Department of Correction.
Thanks. Great to have you here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Giuletti.
Oh, well, hello. I'm Joe Giuletti with the Department of Transportation. So glad to be invited.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for attending.
Kim Caranda.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Caranda. I'm the Director of Statewide Services at DEMIS. We work really closely with DOH on a number of initiatives. We provide all the services for all the vouchers in the state, do a lot of coordination related to homeless outreach and engagement, and very active in Reaching Home campaign. Nice to be here.
Great. Thanks for coming. Laura Zajac. All right, Laura. Laura Zajac is with the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority and is a strong partner with us relative to supportive housing production across the state. Tamara Lopez.
Hi, I'm Tamara Lopez. I work with the Department of Social Services, specifically the Division of Health Services, and Money Follows the Person. There's lots of different housing-related activities that I'm involved in, one of which currently is the CHESS initiative.
Thank you, Tammy. Good to see you as always. William Mulligan. Okay. I'm not familiar with Miss. Oh.
Miss, I can speak for my
please.
boss.
Oh, great.
Yeah. William Mulligan.
Sorry, Ellie, I was moving my computer.
Oh, okay. There he is.
Great.
I knew that was going to happen. The 1 second I unplugged my computer, you'd call on me. But
always.
I'm Bill Mulligan. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and Rehabilitative Services for the Department of Corrections, and work alongside Lali Garcia, overseeing our Programs and Treatment Unit.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate your collaboration. Tawny Fall.
Hi, Tawny Fall from Department of Housing. I'm a housing specialist, and I coordinate several different federal programs.
Thank you, Tawny. Angel Quiros.
Good afternoon. Angel Quiros, Commissioner of the Department of Corrections. Thank you for inviting the Department of Corrections to be at the table for such an important matter for the individuals under our custody returning back into the communities. Appreciate it.
Again, we appreciate the collaboration with the Department of Corrections and hope to increase and improve those collaborations as we go forward. David Rentler.
Yes, hello. I'm David Rentler with the Department of Corrections, Division of Parole and Community Services.
Boy, we've got a lot of you corrections folks here today. Gary Roberge.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, DOC likes to gang up on all of us, right? Hey, so good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you all, and thank you for a seat at the table. I'm Gary Roberge. I'm with the Judicial Branch's Court Support Services Division. I'm the Executive Director here. And, you know, thanks to DOH and all the outstanding work we're doing together on the rapid rehousing projects and, you know, the things that we're working on. We appreciate your partnership with that. And Mike Aiello, I'm lucky to have him on my team. He introduced himself earlier. He's our in-house expert on this stuff, so I'll be leaning on him and just kind of listening to the conversation. So thanks for a seat at the table. I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Commissioner Sadi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. Commissioner Thomas J. Sadi, Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs. And while we have our healthcare center, our skilled nursing facility, our Rocky Hill campus, residential programs and services, and some limited family housing, our goal is to transition our veterans from our state-provided housing at our campus to community-based housing. So very happy to be part of this program. Thank you for all the work that all of you do. Over.
Thank you, sir. Josh Scalora.
Hi, folks. Josh Scalora here from Developmental Services, Department of Developmental Services, DDS. I just am very grateful to be here with a lot of our partners that have really helped DDS learn about supportive housing and benefited so many individuals supported by DDS to live really full lives as integrated full members of their communities. So we're really, again, very thankful for the partnership and look forward to the discussion. And I know I'm joined by some other colleagues here. We arranged it so all of our last names are together.
Very good. Commissioner Chef.
Hi, good afternoon. Jordan Chef from DDS. Happy to be attending, and a shout out. We started our in earnest partnership with Steve Galella probably 6 or 7 years ago now, and started to sow some seeds then. More recently with the iDash housing, we've had a couple projects a project come online live, which we are celebrating loudly. It's one of the more remarkable things we've been able to assist a private provider and people we support with. So happy to be at the table. We'll continue to be at the table, and I think there's at least one more of us on the roll call from DDS. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Stacy Silva Gordon.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am from DDS. I'm the Assistant Regional Director of the private division, and I'm actually sitting in for the Assistant Regional Director of the Individual and Family Support Team. So I'm happy to be here. Like Jordan said, I've been able to work with a private provider on a development for our individuals, and it's been a great and rewarding, experience.
Okay, thanks for coming. John Slifka.
Good afternoon, everyone. John Slifka from the Department of Aging and Disability Services, representing the Commissioner's Office and looking to bring that perspective to the discussion this afternoon. Nice to see so many friends and colleagues around my screen. That it's been a long time, but happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for coming. Louis Tellerita.
Hi, Louis Tellerita at the State Department of Education. I work in the Bureau of Health, Nutrition, Family Services, and Adult Education. First time joining in this discussion, sitting in at the request of our Acting Commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker.
Great, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Terry Nash.
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Nash with Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. I'm in the multifamily division, working on supportive and homeless housing as the community engagement manager. So I really enjoy working with all of you. I see a lot of partners around the table. Looking forward to continuing our relationships and doing more together.
Thanks, Terry. Laura Watson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Watson. I work with Michael in the planning division of our housing department, and it's nice to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Laura. And finally, but last but not least, Bob Zamlowski.
I put my mic on. Hey, Mike, it's good to see you. A long time, buddy.
Back at you, Bob.
I'm with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. I'm the supervisor of the Housing Discrimination Unit. The Commission enforces the state's anti-discrimination laws and housing, employment, public accommodations. Sitting in for the director, Tanya Hughes, and Cheryl Sharp. They're at some hearings at the legislature today, so they couldn't make it.
Well, we appreciate having you, Bob.
Thank you.
You like me, have been around a while, so.
Yeah, bet.
As I like to say, we know where the bodies are buried. All right. Is there anybody who came in late after we started introduction didn't get a chance to let us know you're here?
Mike, I didn't come in late, but I think you skipped the R's.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry, Judith. My apologies.
That's all right. No offense taken. I know you care. So I'm Judith Rothschild. I'm Supervisory Assistant State's Attorney of Housing Matters for the Chief State's Attorney's Office, Division of Criminal Justice. Very happy to be here again. Our work in housing is integral to the safety and health of people living in it and the compliance with the landlord-tenant laws relating to rights of occupancy and such. So nice to see you all.
Thank you, Judith. Okay, I'm going to take a second and share my screen.
Oh, Mike,
moment.
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Mike. Go right ahead.
This is Rebecca French, the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Director of the Office of Climate Planning. Used to work for the Department of Housing, so really, my secret reason for joining is to hang out with Mike and Tawny, but I'm also here to representing Commissioner Dykes and also hoping to wrap in some of the work Governor Lamont asked us to do under Executive Order 3 to implement adaptation strategies in our agency's planning processes, including the department's housing and community development plan. So look forward to working with you on that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rebecca. So
Hey,
again,
Mike,
I'll try.
Don
Yep.
Lambert's here too.
Oh, hey, Dawn.
Too, then I have to go to the Appropriations Committee subgroup if it doesn't get canceled for lack of being able to function with IT. Something's wrong today. That's all I understand. But anyway, I'm here. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, Dawn. Anybody else?
Me, Michael, Kim Ploget with Department of Health, lead program. So I joined in late because I was on a call, so I apologize.
By the way, Kim, congratulations on your recent promotion.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anybody else that I missed? All right. So again, thank you all for coming. Again, I'm going to share, hopefully, what will be a split screen. What you should see on the left are very short bulleted descriptions of the 5 programs that are covered by this consolidated plan. And on the right, the anticipated budget for those programs, as well as all of the state dollars that we anticipate will be used to support those 5 programs. And that's really the key piece for the discussion today, is that broader table on the right. But let me go over real quick the programs that we specifically cover today, although that is not the limit of our discussion, as I said a second ago. Specifically, the 5 programs are CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Small Cities, National Housing Trust Fund, Home, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS. The intended targeted activities for those 5 programs, as you can see on the screen for CDBG, we're going to focus the CDBG dollars that we expect to get effective July 1 on SSHP developments. That is state-sponsored housing portfolio projects, i.e. the preservation of our existing affordable housing. We will not be funding, or at least our intent at this point, is to not fund homeowner rehab or public facilities in the next coming year. And any public service activities that are looking for funding will be shifted to CDBG COVID funding. For those of you who don't know, the state of Connecticut got about $30 million worth of Community Development Block Grant COVID funding. HUD removed what is normally a 15% cap on public service activities. So the majority of those funds have been targeted to specifically do public service. The single requirement associated with the use of those funds is it must be documented to prevent, prepare for, or respond to COVID-19. Essentially, all of our public service activities that we're doing in coordination with a lot of your state agencies, specifically targeting very low-income populations as well as homeless or imminently homeless, can use and access those funds, and we're making those funds specifically available. So if you look to the right, you'll see that's the second row down, SC CDBG, We anticipate receiving about $8 million in the coming year under the Community Development Block Grant Program. So $30 million for public service that's out there and available now. What we will be getting is about $8 million in change, again, that we intend to target for rehab and preservation of our existing portfolio. Next down, National Housing Trust Fund. NHTF targets individuals and families at 30% of the area median income or below. We will, at this point, intend to target new construction or substantial rehab for those extremely low-income families. And we will use those funds in combination with what the governor is asking the legislature to remove about $130 million worth of state bonding, as well as a number of other federal programs, including the federal Section 8 PRA program, as well as other funds targeted specifically to assist extremely low-income households. The idea is we will leverage NHTF with those other programs to get the most benefit for those extremely low-income households. The home program, NHTF, we do not know how much we expect to get. HUD is behind in allocating their formula. Historically, we get a little over $3 million a year. We expect it to be around that number. However, there are a number of bills in the legislature, in the congressional legislature, that could in fact increase that to double digits in terms of the millions, to actually break the $10 million limit. Right now, we expect to get at least $3 million, but we are hopeful that we will actually receive more. Home Investment Partnership Program, I talked about a minute ago. Although it can do a wide variety of activities associated with affordable housing, our intention is to prioritize production, either through new construction or rehabilitation. That is to create new affordable housing opportunities. Again, looking to the right, the top row, we expect to get about $9.6 million worth of HUD funding for the home program.
Hi, Millie. It's Molly.
Oh,
how are you?
You are unmuted, sir. Who is that?
That's William.
Mr. Mulligan, you're unmuted. In any case, back to the conversation, and I apologize. ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant, what used to be called the Emergency Shelter Grant. HUD changed its name a number of years ago. That is the program that most widely targets homeless and imminently homeless through Steve DeLella and our Office of Individual and Family Support. Many of your agencies collaborate with ours using ESG or state equivalent funds to the ESG program. We expect to get approximately a little over $1 million worth of ESG. What you need to know, though, is the state actually received about $20 million worth of ESG under the original CARES Act. We have not seen the details on the American Recovery Act in terms of what programmatic line items the funds will flow through. However, there's reason to believe that a significant increase in the availability of ESG under the new CARES Act, under the new, American Recovery Bill, will be targeted through ESG. This is our regular allocation, which again, we will continue to operate through our coordinated access networks and the not-for-profit system throughout the state of Connecticut to provide shelter beds, case management, rapid rehousing services. That leverages state resources to a significant number. Again, if you look at the table on the right, you'll see that ESG, the state usually or intends to commit about $5.7 million to leverage that $1 million worth of federal resources. That is also then leveraged with additional federal resources that come through our partner, the Department of Social Services, under the Social Service Block Grant, which we expect to get around $6.5 million for total funding assistance targeted at the homeless or imminently homeless population of a little over $13 million. And finally, a very small program, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA. The HOPWA program was recently integrated into the state's coordinated entry system, known as the Coordinated Access Networks. For those of you who are new to the scene, those coordinated access networks cover the entire state and address homelessness and imminently homeless related issues. HOPWA is a critical component of that system now. And a few dollars that we get under HOPWA, about $271,000, are leveraged with a little over $4 million worth of state resources to assist that target population group. Any questions on those 5 programs that I can answer at this time, please raise your hand, and I will ask Laura or Tawny to call out and let me know. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to focus now on the table on the right, which really talks about the wide variety of activities that the department does. Understand, in our action plan, we are required to talk about our collaboration and the intended activities for those 5 programs we just talked about. But the list of programs in the table are the majority of what we do at the Department of Housing. They're the biggest programs that we operate, and in the broadest brush, they are the ones that we interact and collaborate with both you and the general public on the most. We talked about home a little bit. We talked about CDBG, National Housing Trust Fund. Next down the list is the State Housing Trust Fund. That's a bond-funded program. The governor is asking the legislature to approve $30 million worth of new bonding activity for us. Housing Trust Fund serves to produce, rehabilitate, or preserve affordable housing at all income levels, but targeted up to 120% of area median income. It's that program that we generally use most for home ownership or in collaboration with mixed use or mixed funded projects. That is, private developer wants to put some affordable units in his project. We subsidize the cost of those affordable units to get that mix. So we're actually creating communities of affordable housing in collaboration and cooperation with mixed rate housing at the same time. Subsidized assisted living demonstration. This is covered under one of the department's supportive housing initiatives. These units are targeted at elderly individuals under the assisted living model here in the state of Connecticut through the Department of Public Health and the Department of Social Services. The state a number of years ago built 4 projects that we fully subsidize through this annual appropriation. Those units serve a little over 1,000 people, if I remember correctly. So from a cost-effective standpoint, this is a highly effective program relative to assisted living. If you think about assisted living cost in a conventional assisted living environment, costs anywhere between $4,000 and $10,000 a month. This subsidy, again, I believe supports just under 1,000 households or just under 1,000 people. So a little over what would be $2,000 a year versus $4,000 to $10,000 a month. Elderly Rental Registry and Counselor Program. This actually splits 2 different programs. The Resident Service Coordinator Program, which provides grants to local housing authorities and not-for-profits who operate elderly housing to hire a resident service coordinator who provides mediation services, social activity interaction, local program coordination for our elderly and young disabled living in state-sponsored elderly housing. This covers about 6,500 units of state-sponsored elderly across the state of Connecticut through 46 grants to those local sponsors. They interact with local service providers in the given communities, which in turn interact with you and your agencies on service provision and access to state-funded services. Fair housing, that line item is a $670,000 grant to the Connecticut Fair Housing Center to carry out fair housing activities on behalf of the state of Connecticut. This ensures our compliance with our federal fair housing obligations across the board, not just for the Department of Housing, but for a wide variety of other agencies. They work with your agencies, your staff, as well as the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, to ensure that people are treated fairly relative to their housing needs across the state of Connecticut. Elderly congregate rental assistance, just as the program describes, it provides rental assistance to elderly and congregate individuals living in state-sponsored elderly or congregate properties. Average cost to the state is, last I looked, was about $235 per unit per month. A very inexpensive contribution by the state of Connecticut to keep those elderly and vulnerable populations stably housed. The Congregate Operating Subsidy Program, again, supports about 1,050 units of state-sponsored congregate housing. It provides service subsidies to make sure those individuals have a hot meal, receive core services, have access to emergency services as may need, as well as 24-hour security and other services. Crumbling foundations. Many of you who are not aware, the department is integral to the state's initiative associated with dealing with the Crumbling Foundation, which is predominantly found in Eastern Connecticut. We have a staff person dedicated to the management and operation of and coordination of services by the department in collaboration with a bunch of state, local, and private partners. And finally, the lead hazard removal or the Healthy Homes program. The state of Connecticut, in collaboration with the Department of Revenue Services, then the Department of Public Health, as well as the Connecticut Children's Medical Center, carries out a program of activities, grants to provide lead abatement, as well as other health-related rehabilitation to provide and create healthy homes opportunities across the state. We have about $10 million. You don't see that on this because it was allocated in a prior year. Also running through this Healthy Homes program, and about $5 million worth of, again, a prior federal grant that we received. So in total, about $16 million is available to do lead abatement, hazardous materials removal, and promote and create healthy homes. I'm going to stop now. I've done a lot of talking. Basically, what we want to hear from you is your agency feeling the necessary cooperation with our department? And there are other things that you believe we need to be made aware of that you are doing that we can leverage with these and other funding programs to better address affordable housing and the needs of our citizens relative to their housing here in the state of Connecticut. I'm going to ask you just raise your hand if you have a comment or if you believe where we're sitting today, are we in a good place, and what can we do better? So I'll throw it out there and say, I know that we have been trying to work with the Department of Education for a number of years to better collaborate and cooperate with their investments tied to the Department of Housing. We are not there yet. We are absolutely committed to trying to get there. And I'll call on the Department of Education now. Are there things that you can think of off the top of your head, or if you would take some time to think about how we can do better to coordinate with your agency and your investments across the state?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So off the top of my head, I think about in terms of school district investment. I think it's probably one thing that we, could potentially be doing a better job at is kind of examining our data. Our school districts identify students in homeless situations based upon their, nighttime residence. We collect that data regularly. So I think it's kind of thinking about maybe looking at and comparing levels of data with regards to identification of students and, investment in housing and supports. That's probably just one idea off the top of my head.
Great.
That I don't think we've been generally engaged in.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'm going to throw out, and Terry Nash, correct me if I'm wrong, we would love to have a representative from the Department of Education participate in our Interagency Committee on Supportive Housing and Homelessness. And I see Terry nodding her head. So Terry, I'll let you sell it.
Absolutely. We've been eagerly looking for representation from Department of Ed, Department of Labor, and others who might be able to help us in the work we're doing to further supportive housing and address the needs of vulnerable homeless families and young people, especially in the area of education when there's so much transition and turmoil. We'd love to have you join us and help us figure out how we can support you, and you in turn help to support the young people. That's an invitation I'll send you, Lou.
Yeah, I used to be involved when Ann Foley was chairing, I think, that committee.
Yes.
And I don't think, I mean, I've heard much from that side of things for a number of years. So, I mean, is that something that's been recently kind of resurrected, or?
We've been meeting pretty regularly since, I don't know, early 2000.
Right.
And it never stopped. We never stopped meeting, but there's been different focuses. Let me put it that way. There's just different things different priorities that rise. And we haven't had any funded initiatives for a while. So in that respect, it's a little quieter, and we're looking a little bit more under the couch cushions and for federal resources and other ways that we can continue to further our purpose. But yeah, it would still, I think it would be very important to have you join the Interagency Council.
Love to have you, Louis, or anyone from the Department of Ed. Having thrown the Department of Ed under the bus, and I apologize, but you are one agency in particular that we've been really interested in collaborating with better. Any of our existing partners want to talk about what we do and how potentially we can do it better. And I'll throw it out. Either raise your hand or unmute yourself and go for it.
Hey, Mike, it's Kim. I raised my hand. I don't know how it shows on your side of it.
I can see it now, Kim.
Like a little yellow hand. So I just want to say a couple things with DPH. So during all of the COVID response, we've worked very closely with some of your staff that are actually newer faces to me. Some of them I got pulled in on assisting with some of the homeless population in the congregate settings that I'm echoing now. That really, we were working with like directors of health and stuff like that. And that has been a really cool experience because it was all new faces to me. And it just shows, other than Steve, and I got to see a lot of Steve's background that I'm not familiar with because I deal with him on the lead side of stuff. So that's been really a nice experience. And I think DOH has done a great job with being a participant and pulling people together and really involving everybody's areas of expertise. And if there's not an answer that's known, finding that answer together and really working through educating people and providing services for the residents of Connecticut that fall under that funding. So that I just want to add as a complimentary kudos to DOH on that. As far as the lead side of what we do, we work very closely with Miguel and his staff for the CDBG funding Small Cities Block Grant. I've had a lot of questions recently that I've been answering on the technical assistance side. And then in addition to that, we work with the Connecticut Children's Healthy Homes Program for CCMC. So, we're constantly just making sure ideas are exchanged and that, we provide any technical assistance, that we also get information out there, that we support and promote best practice. So I think from our perspective, we've just done a great job in fortifying those relationships, and we look forward to what 2021 has to offer.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. And for those who don't know, Kim has been integral in terms of getting the Healthy Homes money coordinated, dealing with and having access to a wide variety of federal grants specifically targeted at lead abatement. And we hope to continue that ongoing relationship. Commissioner Sheff.
Sorry about that, slow on the mic button. So thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I would say that DDS has largely benefited from increasing the amount of time we spend with our partners at housing and other state agencies. And more importantly, DDS, while DDS has benefited, people we support have benefited. So we're excited. We have reasons to temper some of our expectations as there was only a small amount of money for service dollars allocated a few years back in the prior administration. But we think, as I've said, we can't afford not to continue to invest in these mixed-use housing developments, as well as some of the other projects that we are at the table to discuss. And I think largely in all ways, we've had a very positive relationship, and much of the work you're doing works well for those we support in the agency. I did have one of those thoughts as you were going through the list of activities currently under the umbrella, in the deck that you shared. And I have a question that we don't need to answer today, but before I forget it, a portion of one of our SIDS line items in the budget is for what we call rent subsidy. When that SID and that account was created, it was supposed to be a small amount of money that would tide people over while waiting for Section 8 vouchers to become available. Long ago, that premise was abandoned, but I don't know. Currently, those are all state dollars, to my knowledge, providing that rent subsidy. And I don't know if it pays to look at that account and see if there is other money that might be available to help continue to fund that line and perhaps expand it, because with more subsidized housing, we believe we can support more people. So just a thought, it might be something to take up at a later date. And my staff, Josh or Stacy or someone else may have more insight into that, but you triggered a thought, so I figured I would share. But thank you for the opportunity.
Appreciate it. That's what really today is about. It's you have those thoughts, get them on the table, and then we can pursue them as we go forward. So, Commissioner, I really appreciate it. John Slifka, you are up, sir.
Thank you, Michael. One of the things that I think, and I brought this up in previous meetings, that I think is critical for the state to look at with respect to new construction and to the degree that we can with retrofitting, is the idea of universal design, right? Universal design is a concept that is not new, and when you're dealing with an already aging population that is the state of Connecticut, not to mention the already significant percentage of individuals with disabilities, and that will only grow as the population grows, because invariably you may end up with some sort of disability as you age. That concept that can be geared towards any housing that the state is involved in will go a long way to providing need to these underserved populations when it comes to accessibility and, frankly, affordability as well. So I've said it before, but it's kind of one of those things that's in the details, I think, of what you presented today, Michael, and I just wanted to voice that again on behalf of our agency. Thank you.
No, thank you, John. I appreciate it, and it is not a new issue, as you point out. The concept of universal design is not one that we are unfamiliar with, particularly as it relates to the disabled population. As you indicated, it can facilitate both cost and functionality. We do see some resistance to that concept in the general housing market. That is, people describe it as cookie cutter, and we're trying to get that middle ground where we can get some universal design but still have that feel for uniqueness, if you will. But I appreciate you bringing it up, and hope to continue the conversation as we go forward. I know she hasn't raised her hand, but I'm going to throw somebody else under the bus here, because I need her up on her soapbox, and that's you, Judith. Would you mind talking a little bit about UPC of Uniform Property Maintenance Code, and how we as a state can do better in terms of housing code enforcement and potential implementation of the concept?
Not at all. I appreciate you calling me onto my box. So the state of Connecticut has a statewide standard for constructing new buildings. The state building code is that standard, and it applies throughout the state, enforced by local building officials. We have a statewide code for fire prevention and for fire safety, enforced by local fire marshals. We have a statewide code for public health enforcement, enforced by local health directors. And we do not have a statewide code for the maintenance of buildings once they are established with a CO. The problem that we have in our state regarding injuries and illnesses is that a good percentage of them we know by the data available from the Department of Public Health and other departments, including DSS and DEMIS, is related, and others, is related to the fact that we have substandard housing in many places in our state, which is injurious to the people living in it. For example, asthma is 40% triggered by indoor elements, which are often related to leaking roofs, leaking windows, substandard siding, things like that. Asthma is a great cost to the individuals who are afflicted by it. 10%, I think I have the numbers right, 10% of our children are asthma inflicted, either chronic or acute, and 11% of our adults are. So this is not just a pediatric issue. And when you look at that, and I'm not a doctor, I'm a lawyer, it seems that it's clear that we have a constant, which is there's a piece that's affecting our public's well-being. And asthma is just one indicator. It's a big one, and it costs us millions and millions of dollars because a lot of the people who are being treated for asthma are being treated on state health benefits. So we could prevent a good amount of injury to our people and also to our financial situation should we fix the houses. The argument, which I'll quote Dr. Megan Sandel from the Boston University, is that housing is the best medicine. If you want to keep people well, you have to make their environments healthy and safe. And we do not have a state standard that requires that right now, that strictly applies to that. The idea is a state property maintenance code, which would do that. And we have not yet put together a proposal that has been able to manage through the legislature for adoption with approval of our.
Muted, Judith, you suddenly muted for some reason.
How's that? We have been talking, I don't know what force did that, but I'm going to say it again. We have not had the support that we need universally to get this over our legislature and our governor. We have had a great amount of cooperation and understanding and agreement that this is a good idea. The question is funding, because I have prosecuted landlords and tenants, but mostly landlords regarding structural issues for the state for 30 years. And I came to learn very early on that it's not about an intentional failure to keep properties well on the most part. Once in a while it is, but really it's about education of the need to do it and funding it. So programs like Connecticut Children's Medical, Healthy Homes, and that through Connecticut Green Bank, these are the solutions to the problem because we have the business argument. It's been made, it's been datified that it is cheaper to fix houses than fix people. And that's not just the medical, that's the psychiatric, that's the homelessness or people who are experiencing homelessness issues. It's people who are suffering from addiction, who need a stable environment to rectify their lives. It's people coming out of incarceration who need a stable place to live, to reinvest into our communities well. It's all of it. So is that good, Michael? I think that
Judy,
yeah.
Thank you for all that. And I cannot agree more with you. So I wanted to invite you. I will support you because as a practitioner, I know that the families and the children cannot perform, the children, especially in the inner cities, cannot perform well in school because of the asthma and because the substandard condition of the houses that they live in. And I'm more than happy to start a little group that we can work together towards something big, because what we have right now is Band-Aids. as Michael, you should usually talk about different programs that are just a Band-Aid. We're doing just a Band-Aid for little things here and there. We need to tackle it from a bigger umbrella. So I'll follow up with you on that.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I mean, the key is there's been several departments that have discussed this for years. I can bring you up to speed on that. Certainly DPH and also DAS Construction Services has been involved with the discussions in the past. And there's been several legislative proposals over the years. So there's a need, and thank you so much, because this will make a difference. And so will the programs that I just discussed be the avenue to make the difference. So thank you. And I just want to also mention one other word that I've never brought up into this group before, but I want you to be aware that we have a significant number of cases being reported yearly that are severe hoarding disorder or hoarding cases out of housing. We have actually lost, I was just looking at the data, I think that we are up to, since in just the last 3 years, not including anything in 2021 yet, we have over 10 fatalities in houses that have had severe hoarding. And we've had emergency shutdowns in over 100 that are handled by the Office of the State Fire Marshal in cooperation with the Fire and Explosion Unit of the Connecticut State Police. So hoarding disorder is a big area of concern in housing. 2 to 5% of the population is estimated to have this disorder. Some of these cases are horribly difficult to handle and require funding as well. DEMIS is heavily involved with this issue already, as are other departments, because it's an interagency problem. And I just want to bring that to your attention in case there's any way in Healthy Homes or elsewhere to address the need for funding in responding to hoarding disorder. Besides the mental health initiatives, which are in process, we also need money to help people to make their houses safe to live in. Nobody wants to displace anybody. But sometimes it's a life safety issue and it must be done. So
again, that's a big issue within the affordable housing property managers, because I was there and we didn't find any way or any support in how to help those individuals and families. So that's another area that, yes, we need to come up with something that to help, and the property manager will be there to help us figure it out.
Thank you again, Commissioner. And I just feel very happy that you have expressed your desire to work on these things. And I'm going to stop with where I am, because that's good so far.
Wait, while you're ahead, Judy. Brian, you're up.
Michael, that was a great soapbox by Judith. Judith, that was fantastic. Commissioner, way to follow up on all that. Just a couple of thoughts. One is, all our agencies are guided by 2 executive orders. I'm sure there are others, but 2 that come to my mind. One is Executive Order 1, which has to deal with kind of sustainability and lead by example our agencies in terms of reducing waste, reducing energy consumption, being more efficient with water, and those sorts of things. And then Executive Order 3, which speaks to climate change and really the governor's emphasis around ensuring that vulnerable communities are more resilient to the impacts of climate. So I just wanted to put that out there in terms of some guidance from the governor in terms of those executive orders. We all deal with energy affordability and transportation affordability within our respective spheres. Any household that is spending more than 6% of their household income on energy is considered unaffordable. Our low to moderate income families are feeling the pain of energy. I just recently saw that we have now $120 million of arrearages, which is households that have been hit by COVID, are under medical hardship, serious illnesses, that are unable to pay their electric utility bills. So that is a big cost for our households. There are incentives through our electric distribution companies that we can bring to these respective properties and our stakeholders. There are a few dockets that underneath the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority that Commissioner Gillette is leading around an equitable modern grid. The first priority is around energy affordability. There are things within there around solar tariffs, specifically targeted to DECD distressed communities, low-income households, battery storage incentives, quite extensive to ensure resilience of low-income households, electric vehicles. Again, these sorts of measures would help reduce energy burden and transportation burden, the percentage of our household income spent on energy and transportation. And then just lastly, kind of coming back to where you started off, Michael and Commissioner, around the relief package. It looks like it's going to be voted on today and hopefully passed today, and that will come down to the states. What will immediately follow this later on this week, I suspect, is going to be a debate that will continue for months around recovery, which will deal with the modernization and decarbonization of our nation's infrastructure. Yep. So it's going to turn from relief to recovery. And just as you laid out, Judith, the notion of making our homes more resilient, especially for those who live and reside in vulnerable communities. This administration has equity and environmental justice front and center in terms of their strategies. So they will be mobilizing resources into low to moderate income communities. And the issues you raised on healthy homes, Commissioner, too, I mean, this is going to be at the front lines of making people's lives better. So that's just to say that I suspect we'll all be working together over the next 3 to 9 months as that debate continues to move forward, and hopefully it results in a congressional approval to support the modernization of our nation's infrastructure, and our housing should be front and center with that. So it's great to be with you all today.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. One thing I want to throw out, and for those of you who don't know, under the second CARES Act, the state received an allocation of about $235 million for rent and utility relief. And next week, we will be rolling out that rent utility relief program called Unite CT. And included in that package is up to $1,500 for utility arrearages. So our low and moderate income households, 80% of area median income or below, can apply for utility assistance to cover back arrearages of up to $1,500. That's gas or electric. So if your constituency, go ahead, Commissioner.
Let me just add that if any of the agencies would like to have an overview of what we're doing, please let us know. Send us an email. We will happy give you a presentation, and we can send invitations too. But if you guys have staff that needs to know how we're managing this, please let us know.
Thank you, Commissioner. And you beat me to the punch, which is not unusual. We've kept you tied up for an hour. We did slate this for up to 2, but everybody's time is critical and busy. Is there anything anybody wants to put on the table for us to consider that we haven't already talked about or is not already in our plan? Lolly, what do you got?
Hi, Michael. Yes, I do have a question for Commissioner Mosquera Bruno. As many of you know or may not know, housing and employment for our returning citizens are two extremely challenging issues and barriers for successful reentry. Are there any initiatives or incentives for landlords to rent to returning citizens upon discharge? A lot of these guys are stigmatized because of, being convicted felons, and I've found, sitting on many committees and attending many reentry roundtable meetings, that that is one factor that continues to be an issue, which leads these guys to be reincarcerated, not being able to have that opportunity to be given a chance to prove themselves and live in a safe and suitable apartment. So I was just wondering if there was anything going on from the Department of Housing front that is addressing that factor.
Yes, we are. And I'm going to ask Steve Delila. Steve, I know enough to get in trouble. So Steve, where are you?
Sure, I'm here. So we certainly don't have any specific programs that incentivizes landlords for folks exiting the criminal justice system. I think what we do for the most part is try to work and create rent subsidies for folks both within the DOC population as well as the CSSD population. And that tends to serve as the impetus for the landlords to work with us, because obviously if they're guaranteed a little bit more on the rent side, it's likely to incentivize them to take a chance, because they know at least from the monetary aspect they will at least receive that funding. So we haven't put anything specifically requiring landlords to do it like that. So we just kind of do it by giving them money through a rent subsidy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lolly. Good to talk to you. Good to see you, and thanks for the comment. You know, Department of Corrections has been a valuable partner on, again, the Interagency Committee for Supportive Housing and Homelessness over the years. You've had a number of representatives change hands recently over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. We've had 3 changes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Terry. But we look forward to DOC's continued cooperation and collaboration through the Interagency Committee on Supportive Housing and Homelessness, as well as in coordination with CSSD and Mike Aiello and the folks over there. Anything else want to put on the table that we haven't talked about that we, the department, should focus on that we haven't already brought up? Commissioner Delphin Ribbon.
Yeah, so a couple comments. I mean, it's not so much what you should focus on, but certainly, you know, I just want to put out there that I so appreciate our collaboration. And of course, there are so many points of intersection across our agencies. We know that housing, affordable housing for people struggling with mental health or addiction challenges is so critical. And there are a range of initiatives that we have and that we've had over the years. And so just appreciate that work. We, you know that we are supporters, you know, of the work. Any way that we can support your agency, we so appreciate that you know, you do the same with our work. I know at times we even shared staff. And so Steve, you know, one time was part of DEMIS and sometimes still feels like he's part of DEMIS because we're often on many of the same meetings. So I mostly just want to say thank you. I appreciate the way our agencies work together so nimbly to include most recently standing up quarantine and isolation space in record time, pretty seamlessly, and that's been up and running for a while. So just want to thank you for the ongoing collaboration and support, and look forward to sort of continuing that and you know, lending a hand where we're able to your initiatives and priorities. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and back at you and your staff. We could not have accomplished all that we have since the rebirth of the Department of Housing in 2013 without the assistance of DEMIS staff in particular. So again, we look forward to the continued collaboration. We have new opportunities that are appearing every day, and we try to make the best use and leverage other dollars, resources, and capacity. I think that's the other thing that I want to put on the table for everybody. It's not always just about the money. It's communication. It's if our agencies are talking to each other about what we're doing and we can collaborate, it doesn't require more money. It just requires us to use what we have better in a coordinated fashion to have better outcomes. Something I didn't say up front, and I should say for everybody who doesn't already know, here in the state of Connecticut, we consider ourselves to operate under the Housing First model. We know that if we get somebody in stable, decent, safe, and sanitary, affordable housing, all of their other outcomes are better, statistically speaking. Yeah. Health, mental health, education, economically. It's all across the board. Our commissioner is a supporter of Housing First. We have been a Housing First agency for a very, very, very long time. All of our programs look at that realistically, and with the understanding that if we keep or make someone stably housed, they are better off. We, the state of Connecticut, are better off as well. Terry, you had something you wanted to say.
I did. I thought if I could put this item from my wish list out here, it would be so fabulous if we could have another initiative funded, because those were the most successful with outcomes for the residents and the communities, where everything was bundled at once, services, rent supports, and capital. I think it might have been an expensive model, and that's one reason we moved away from it. But it really was one of the most successful outcomes and modeled by other states after us as a very successful way of addressing homelessness. And you had the mixed population. You weren't isolating anybody into one particular area, but it was housing first. It was all different types of special needs, all different disabilities, and they were all addressed. But it was key to have all three components, services, rent, and capital. So that's my big wish, and I'm putting it out there. But might not be the climate for it, but I'm putting it out there anyway.
Thank you, Terry. If we don't keep talking about it, it will go away. So it is, and that's the other thing. I said it a minute ago. Communication. It's that interagency contact, cooperation, collaboration, and communication that helps us move the needle. It has a dramatic impact. You look at the success that we have had as a state relative to affordable housing. It is not just the Department of Housing that is responsible. With the help of Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, the Department of Public Health, the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, DDS, DSS, DCF, we have been extremely successful. We need to continue to look for those opportunities. So thank you, Terry, for keeping the conversation alive. Anybody else? Rebecca.
Yeah, I see hands raised. Hey, Mike. So I kind of ditto everything Brian Garcia talked about, but noting that DEP runs the conservation and load management program, which is all about our energy efficiency, and staff in that program was looking specifically at HUD programs and done a little research trying to understand how we could address what are first and foremost a public health issue of what Judith's already talked about of indoor air quality, but we see mold, barriers, asbestos, like materials. Until those are dealt with, we have a hard time unlocking our energy efficiency funds. Is probably not the first time we've heard this, but it was a big discussion in the Governor's Council on Climate Change. So by addressing that issue, you also unlock millions of dollars of investment in energy efficiency, which I do expect to increase under potentially COVID recovery. It's also the most efficient way and the least costly way of reducing emissions in Connecticut is to invest in energy efficiency. And noting federal match with CDBG. I'm interested in what you're doing with CDBG. For other federal programs, how can we use CDBG as a match opportunity, aligning those programs where it works, and that just makes making sure that we talk a lot. That's probably the best way to do that. Maybe some training, cross training. So I know CDBG doesn't just go through Department of Housing, but goes directly to municipalities as well. And then highlighting what we hope will be the successful passage of the climate mitigation bill under the governor's climate mitigation bill, which includes a home energy label. I think this will really go a long way towards, if it gets passed, helping our low-income renters so that when they're shopping for housing or buying a home, they know what the utility costs are up front. And that is the idea behind the home energy label. You do not have to disclose that at all right now. So with this, renters and real estate agents, they'd have to disclose that.
Thank you,
and then,
Rebecca.
and then all kinds of things on floodplain management too, but that.
Yeah. Not something we've talked about a lot in the past, so I appreciate it. I really do. I now have A to Z. I'm going to go Mike Aiello and then Bob Zamlowski. So Mike, you're up.
Well, thank you, Mike. Eulalia, just so you know, a while ago they did CHAPA put out a bid for some more to fund more sites, more supportive housing and affordable housing. And I was fortunate enough they allowed me to be on the committee, and it was very enlightening to see the responses. And there's different things you can get more points for. And one of the things they added was a criminal justice for builders who are willing to build and house folks that have criminal justice, and they would get extra points. Unfortunately, no one applied under that exemption to get the additional points. So I think the collaboration, I think, is great, what we have. Trying to find more ways to incentivize it, to get people to want to work with this population, I think is important. But until that happens, until we get the general public and those folks willing to do it, I think the things that we're doing together have worked. Something like Fuse has worked to help with housing in the criminal justice population. I think what we're doing with DOH now and the rapid rehousing for probationers in New Haven and Hartford, I think helps. What DOC is doing with the Connecticut Coalition on Homelessness and those kinds of things, I think those all help. And the more we can do those workarounds, the better. Because it's funny, I used to have this perception of homelessness and criminal justice as two separate things. And I was telling Sarah Fox this and Alicia Woodsby the other day, how they both helped shape my view. And I think about those in criminal justice who are also facing housing issues. We are going to create a permanent underclass for not only them, but their families. And that's difficult. You're living in a poor place. You're living in a place that's not healthy. Your kids are going to then always have to go to a school in that neighborhood that is not the best school. We're going to create a permanent underclass of folks, and it ends up primarily being folks of color, at least in Connecticut. And that's a problem. But I think for us, I think we're in a good place. While it can always get better, and I'm the first one to sit there and yell and scream that it should be better, we are doing a good job, and I appreciate the collaboration from everybody on this call, including Steve and Mike and Terry and all the others.
Thank you, Mike. And your interaction with that particular evaluation committee was invaluable. But I think you're right. I think as we go and move forward and try to have more opportunities like that, we need to engage our landlords better in how it can benefit them to actually start to look at serving this population better. Thanks again. Mr. Zamlowski, Bob, you're up.
Yeah, somebody brought up the problem with people with criminal convictions getting housing. The commission is now supporting a bill that's in front of the legislature that would limit a landlord's ability to reject persons with prior criminal histories. And that bill is House Bill 6431. It's called an Act Concerning Housing Opportunities for Justice-Impacted Persons. If anyone is interested in more information on that bill and supporting it, please email me and I will provide you with a link to the bill as well as the commission's prepared comments on the bill as it is presently written.
Bob, if you can send me those comments, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Listen, everybody's time is valuable. I cannot thank you all enough, both for your individual, all the commissioners who came, all the lead staff who showed up to give us your input, to give us your information, and to recognize that it's this kind of interaction that can allow all of us to do better with the resources that we have at hand. Before I let you go, I just want to reiterate, this is the State Agency Roundtable. We're doing a public forum tomorrow where private individuals, organizations, or not-for-profit communities will have the same opportunity to give us input. We will then draft the action plan, which will go out for public comment. We will, once that is out, also schedule another roundtable like this one, where we're actually going to want to break down language in the plan that may better enhance or identify those areas where we can collaborate and work better together. So commissioners, we will invite you again to that next roundtable. We're not saying don't come, but we're saying that's a working session. If you want your staff to give us real concrete language discussions about what is in our plan, that's the opportunity. So send them with a charge, with a message, or come with yourself if you want. You are more than welcome. But the next roundtable, I want to warn you all, is a nitty-gritty, get down and dirty kind of session. Okay.
Michael, are you saying the commissioners are now going to get down to the nitty-gritty?
No, Commissioner, I would never say that, particularly with you involved, because you get down to the nitty-gritty. But I know some other commissioners rely heavily on their lead staff and can have them deliver the message on what they would like to actually see in the plan. Again, I will say it. You commissioners are all welcome to come to the next session. But I want you to know it's going to be a down and dirty. Let's get down to the language session. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And you just muted for some reason. I didn't do it. See, my hands are free.
I know, that was you. Thank you. Thank you very much to all my colleagues, commissioners. Thank you for being here and attending, and the staff. Judy, I'm gonna follow up with you and a couple of other things that with Brian on the Green Bank and some of the thoughts that we have on our new construction programs that we're going to be putting together, and looking forward our collaboration. Thank you very much.
Anybody else final comments before I let you go?
Do you have a suggested date for the next roundtable?
So our intent for the next roundtable, I'm going to look at Laura. Have we worked out the timetable for that yet, Laura?
No, we have not. Do you have recommendations? Is there something?
It'll actually come down a lot to workflow. So after our next public meeting tomorrow, we'll draft a plan that'll go to the commissioner prior to release. We then publish, and it goes out for public comment. During that public comment period, we'll schedule the next roundtable, and we will do a virtual public hearing where the general public will be able to comment live as well. Figure before the end of the month. That's our goal. Okay. It may flow into the first week of April, but we are on an expedited process. We want to get this done in place and submitted for HUD's approval so that on July 1, we have access to our new money. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Commissioner, closing remarks?
I thought that I already did. Looking forward to the collaboration, but thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. We appreciate your participation. Look forward to talking again.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
So, Michael, I need to tell you something. Can I call you, or
Hold on, Judith.
Yeah.
I've just told Laura to pause recording. And when Commissioner Chef drops off, it's just you and me.
I don't know when he'll be able to drop off. Shall I call your landline?
No, I'll send you a Teams invite right back, okay?
Okay. Yeah,
Bye.
thanks.